And this evening we'll be talking about money, benefits, and other forms of support for those who have had a cancer diagnosis or receiving treatment, or indeed living with and beyond cancer. As you will have seen from the welcome slide, we record the first half of the meeting, and the recording will be going onto the Alliance website and into YouTube. So if you don't want yourself to be seen while we're recording that first half, you should switch off your camera. If a question occurs to you when either Joe or Michelle is speaking, please type it into the chat button, which is the little bubble that should be at the top of your screen. And when we finished the talks, Jane Parker Colson will be moderating the questions and asking them to our speakers. If we have time, once those questions have been gone through, then by all means raise your hand and we'll take further questions. But we do work to a strict timetable, so we'll be finishing at 7:30. The second half, while questions are on, there will be no recording, so you're quite welcome to become visible, and you'll only be seen in the course of the meeting. Is that all I need to do about the security, Jane, or have you anything else to say?
No, that's everything.
Good. Well, in that case, let's make a start with our first talk. It's going to be done by Joe Bowen, who works for Macmillan as a manager of the East of England Welfare Benefits Service. Over to you, Joe.
Thank you, Ray. Good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for having me here. I hope that you find some useful information, or at least nuggets of information from what I'm going to say today. I have got a PowerPoint presentation, so I'm going to put that on now, which hopefully then, as long as it all works, technology is wonderful, isn't it, until it doesn't work. Okay, can everybody see that first slide?
Yeah, we can see that, Joe.
Jolly good. So this will obviously, as this is being recorded, this will be there on the website for you to refer back to should you need it. So as Ray said, I am the manager of the East Anglian Welfare Benefits Service, and we actually cover Suffolk, Norfolk and Cambridgeshire. We're one of the biggest services in the country, but Macmillan do cover the whole of England. And I'll work through our East of England area in a little while so you can sort of see where you fit in yourself. We're actually, although I work for Macmillan, we're actually not employed by Macmillan. We're actually employed, as you can see, by Suffolk County Council. And that's the case with all Macmillan welfare benefits teams. And it's something that really confuses people. That's why I wanted to say it from the start. So you could be in Cambridgeshire, we could be working with you, and you'll get a letter with the Suffolk County Council, heading on it. And it's the same in different parts of the country where the teams are hosted by, for example, Citizens Advice. So they'll send out Citizens Advice headed paper, and people are saying, I thought I was working with Macmillan. So just so you've got the heads up on it, you are working with Macmillan if you use one of our services. We're just hosted by a larger authority. But Macmillan funds us entirely. They fund all our wages, they fund all our costs, petrol costs, stationery costs, incidentals and everything. So it very much is a Macmillan service. Now this is, I hope I've got all of the East of England. And if anybody is on here and can see they're from an area that's not covered, then do pop it in the chat and I can get that information to you. So what you'll see here are, in some cases, counties, Essex, Hertfordshire, Norfolk, etc. And in some cases, part counties, Bedford and Peterborough are linked together. And then places like Luton and Milton Keynes that are simply towns on their own. The way all of this is organised is via your hospital. So depending on which hospital you're at, depends on which particular service you access. So, for example, with my service, we cover, as I say, the Cambridgeshire, Norfolk and Suffolk, but Cambridgeshire, we actually cover Addenbrooke's, or Cambridge University Hospital Group, as it's called now. So if you live in Cambridge, but happen to be having your treatment in Bedford, then you'd go through the Bedford team. If you live in Essex, but you're having your treatment at Addenbrooke's, then you'd come through us, not the Essex team. So it all gets really quite confusing. And it's something that sort of people can end up actually having quite a bit of anxiety about. If you do, or if you know anyone, please pass this on. If you do want to contact a team and you're not sure who to contact, then contact anyone. Contact any of the teams, and they will always pass you on to the one that is best served for you and knows your hospital and your staff. So don't ever think, I don't know who to contact, I won't contact anybody. If ever you're not quite sure, then contact any of us. Okay. We're actually, as I said, all based in hospitals. Most of us are based from home and go into hospitals. Luton is just one lady at Luton Hospital all week. So she does that one thing. My team is a team of 12 and we cover a lot more hospitals. Essex, as I'm sure you know, is a huge county, but they're actually only in about 4 hospitals, but they all work together. Milton Keynes is one hospital. Hertfordshire is the one hospital in Stevenage mainly, but Bedford, if this is relevant to any of you, Bedford, as well as covering South Beds and Central Beds, actually covers Peterborough and Hinchinbrook. I know that that you have something for. This service.
Joe, we're losing sound a bit from you.
Oh,
yeah,
that's better.
Could I ask, if you're not speaking, could you please mute, and that will improve the situation.
So service.
You're breaking up a little bit, Joe. We just can't hear you.
Sorry.
When you're a bit closer, we can hear you better.
Okay. Right. Is that better?
Not really. Sorry.
No. Oh, sorry.
We could hear you clearly when you started, but not for the last couple of minutes.
Joe, maybe try turning your camera off, and then because we can look at the slides whilst you talk.
Yes, that usually does the trick. If I'm presenting in Teams and my camera is on, it starts to sketch a little bit. So that hopefully will work going forward.
Joe, you're on mute as well, just in case you are talking.
Right, how about that? Is that any better?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh,
Much
good.
better.
Sorry. Okay, so Macmillan Macmillan set up this service with very specific pathways in mind. That's their term, pathways. Pathways in order to approach us for assistance, but they're quite simple. It's people who have cancer and the
Sorry,
family.
Joe, your sound has gone again. Do you have a microphone?
Yeah, I have. Let me.
You might need to put
You're all right to
headset
bear with
on.
me while I just go and get it.
Certainly.
No, don't worry. Sorry, I'm back. Can you
that's
just bear with me
better.
1 second? Oh, is it?
Yes.
Ah, I was going to say my microphone, the toggle has come off it. If that's better, I'll leave it. I'll just shut the door, left it open. Right, so is that still okay? Jolly good. So I'm sorry about that. I did say to Jane at the start we'd had an update on our laptops today. It's bound to make something go wrong. So back to pathways. So Macmillan have got two pathways, two initial pathways. You need to be somebody who has cancer or the family or carers of somebody with cancer. So that's fairly straightforward. And then from there we have 4 sub pathways. So we can see people as soon as they're diagnosed, during treatment or recovery from treatment, and that can last up to 12 months after they've been discharged from any treatment, during palliative care, and obviously at the end of a person's life. And the last part of that also is that we can then assist the family or carers of a person for up to 12 months after they've passed away. So they're quite strict on that. To be fair, the hospitals are very, very clear about it and make sure that people are aware of this. And where the hospitals do perhaps not quite explain things quite so well is that people who come to us at the point of diagnosis often, and I will come on to this in a little while, but will often get not get the answers they want necessarily, because it's not always immediately after diagnosis that benefits and issues to do with money either are available or are appropriate to discuss. Now, this is the information that Macmillan very, very keen to get out there into the public domain. And I'm sure, as many of you will know, the hidden cost of cancer is absolutely enormous. So you can see there that almost 1 in 3 people, as a result of their diagnosis, on average lose. These were last year's figures, so probably almost £1,000 a month, which is life-changing for most of us. 4 in 5 people have to find approximately, well, that'll be higher, but well over £600 extra a month. And 6 in 7 people, so the vast majority, see their monthly expenses increase by, and that's now over £300 a month. So these are all really sort of significant figures. And our service is specifically set up to maximise income wherever we can and to minimise that financial impact as much as we possibly can. Obviously, we don't have a magic wand, but every single one of my team, and I know it's the same in the other teams, the East of England hub that I'm part of, it's that everybody is very, very passionate. And sometimes a case of digging and digging and digging and making sure that we've not left a single stone unturned. Breaking up again. Is that any better? Yeah. And so it's often, it's almost a kind of a detective process. Some people it's very straightforward, and other people it can take weeks and weeks and even months that you're working with your advisor. So what our staff do, you'll see here, is work with people to look at their entitlement to all benefits, and obviously that differs with each individual person. Blue badges, and we know from our own work how much of a difference a blue badge can make, to individuals with cancer. It makes a huge difference. And then also one-off payments like Macmillan grants, and I'll come on to those again in a minute. Each team work slightly differently, but what we all do is you will have advice from an advisor and support every step of the way that you need it. Now, some people want to be pointed in the right direction, be told where to get the forms and want to take ownership of that themselves. Other people will need a face-to-face appointment, will need one of the team to complete the form for them and to stay with them, maybe even hand-holding right through until everything is in place. And again, that differs very much, obviously, from person to person and down to their personal circumstances, whether they've got family support. So that's all very, very bespoke. This number that you can see here is our own service. This is a slide that I use when I'm talking about our service, but I will put the other ones on at the end as well for the other areas. So some of the benefits we can help with are listed here. That's not exhaustive at all, but these are the most common. Attendance allowance for people over state pension age and personal independence payments for people over 16 but under state pension age, and they are both not means tested. You can be a millionaire and you're entitled to them if you fit the criteria. Carers allowance, this is one that people get very confused about and is probably the one that we have people asking the most questions about when they've been told to claim it erroneously, if you like. Carers allowance is actually claimed by the carer, and it can only be claimed for somebody who is in receipt of one of these two, either attendance allowance or personal independence payment. The carer does have an income limit. They can't earn more than a certain amount a week, and they do have to do a certain amount of care a week as well. Then these ones here are means tested. Employment and support allowance, universal credit. The universal credits for under state pension age, as is employment and support allowance, and pension credits for over state pension age, as a benefit, council tax. We work with all of those. There are then some other slightly more unusual benefits, and some benefits that we call legacy benefits that are more old-fashioned ones that people may already be on, that we can help sort out as well. And this is the important bit.
Joe, I'm afraid your sound's gone again.
Oh.
If you could just repeat the last bit once it clears, it just keeps breaking up. Yeah, there we go. It's clear again now.
So we also help with appealing benefit decisions, and that's really important. If you have attempted to claim a benefit and you've been refused, or you've been given a lower rate than you expected, you can contact your Macmillan Welfare Benefits team and they will look into it for you. It doesn't matter that you started that process yourself. We will pick it up from there and we'll look into it. My team, we actually go to tribunal and represent people as well. Thankfully, it doesn't happen too often, but sometimes it does. So just because you've been turned down, don't let that dishearten you. Speak to a Macmillan Welfare Benefits advisor. It may be that they'll be able to tell you why, and that actually this is the wrong benefit for you, but they will actually be able to talk through it and help you, if necessary, move forward and appeal. Macmillan grants, I mentioned earlier. So a Macmillan grant is £200. It's very standard of savings at the moment. The year we're actually £302. So you're not seeing what. Sorry.
No, we can't hear you. I'm really sorry, Joe.
No, don't be sorry. I'm sorry. Right, how about that?
It's better, but it's still a bit breaking up.
Just get the right. What about that one?
It's
No?
clearer.
Is that better?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So the Macmillan grants can be something that you apply for yourself. If you do that, you have to fill in paperwork. You can go onto the Macmillan website. It's easier to come to one of your Macmillan teams and ask them to apply for it for you. We do it there and then over the phone. We take your bank account details, we pass them on to Macmillan, and usually within 24 hours, the grant is in your bank account. As you can see down here, they are means tested. So you've got to have less than £1,000 in savings and a weekly income of no more than 323. But any disability benefits are not included in that. So attendance allowance, PIP, they're not included in that income. So if you're not sure if you're borderline, again, speak to your Macmillan team and they will look into that for you. Macmillan like to ask what you use it for. These are suggestions, but it's not ring fenced. You can use it for whatever you need it to be used for. Okay, there's no, the website kind of implies it should be used for one of those, but actually there is no compulsion on you to use it for that at all. This is the way my team work. Every team is slightly different, like I say, but as you can see, we cover 7 different centres. So Ipswich Hospital and West Suffolk Hospital in Bury St Edmunds. And then we've also got the hospice in Ipswich. Then we've got the Addenbrooke's Centre, the Addenbrooke's Clinic, which is based at the Cambridge Cancer Help Centre. And then in Norfolk, we're at both Norfolk and Norwich, Queen Elizabeth, and at the James Paget. So that's how ours work. Every service will be different, but they will all have something similar. Days when they're in hospitals where you can make an appointment to see somebody face to face, but the rest of the time you can receive telephone advice for the rest of the week. This was us last year. We are up by about a third this year. So last year, about 3,400 cases. This year, we're already on over 4,000. But you can see by those, it's a very real difference that these mental health benefits teams do make to people's lives. And this number in particular, the £13.5 million, that's a week that we managed to secure for people in benefits. So if you're in any doubt or you've got any questions about whether you could be eligible, I urge you honestly to contact your team. That's our information for my team. And if any of you are in Suffolk, Norfolk, Cambridgeshire, or in fact just want to get some further information about who to contact, then you're very welcome to contact us. But I will also put the other ones on further down the line, the other areas. This is our central line. And as I've said down here, it's a national telephone service. These are areas where people have to be qualified to a certain level in order to advise you properly. So things like pensions, mortgages, debt, that sort of thing are all covered under that central line. They're very good. They're not great for benefits because they work very much on a remote basis. You're much better with your local team for benefits. They will advise you on benefits, but they don't do it to the same level. They can't give you the same kind of local knowledge. But for this sort of thing, and also debt, they are absolutely fantastic. Something that I would urge you to look at if it's appropriate for you. The Macmillan support line, it is on the website, and actually I don't know if you'd be able to, will you be able to click the link? I don't know if you will on the website, will you, Jane? No, you won't. Okay, but it is on the website. If you can just Google Macmillan support line and you'll get that. But this is a really, really valuable service where you can literally ring that line. It's free and talk about anything at all, not just about money. This is anything. This is asking further information about your treatment. I've been told this whole list of words and I don't understand them. I've got small children or grandchildren and I don't know how to talk to them about my diagnosis. It's literally anything at all. If you want to talk about it, they will listen. And we've had such good feedback about this service. So this is back at the end. the list of all the areas for you. I've put one slide at the beginning, they're exactly the same, and one slide at the end, so that if people do go onto the website, they can see it sort of straight away. And for those of you, if you want to come back and look for it, you'll know it's both at the beginning and at the end. As I said, if you're not sure which area you fit into, ring any of them. We are Norfolk, Suffolk and Cambridgeshire. You're very welcome to ring us and ask for advice at any time. We all have slightly different arrangements, but there's always a voicemail if you can't get hold of anybody. So if for some reason you want to ring in the middle of the night, there will be a voicemail service, and people will make sure that they get back to you. But please, both for yourselves and perhaps for people you know, do urge them, if they've got any questions at all around benefits, money, finishing work, how am I going to survive, etc., financially, then do urge them to come to one of these services and ask their questions. They'll never be turned away, and there's no such thing as a daft question ever. And this is my email address, which you're all very welcome to take if any of you want to ask any questions in time to come. You're very welcome to take that. That's me personally, not our service. So you're very welcome to take that down or put it in the chat, Jane. And I know that Ray said that once Michelle has spoken, that we're going to take questions from there. So I will leave it there, and hope to hear from you all in a little while.
Thank you very much, Jo, and well done for battling through the interesting sound.
Sorry.
No. I'm going to hand over now to Michelle, who's going to talk a bit about her own experience, and perhaps if you want to interact with Jo, Michelle, on the basis of what she said, by all means do so. Over to you, Michelle. Thank
you, Ray. So I'm Michelle. I was diagnosed with a rare type of cancer back in 2022. When I previously had ill health at work, it was quite simple, just getting sick leave off, speaking to my manager, and then getting like either hospital or a GP note. It wasn't so tricky, and off, it was paid sick leave. Where I sort of was diagnosed with cancer, I was in a slightly different position. I was self-employed, so anytime I took off, I wouldn't get any payment for. It was quite tricky to begin with, because at the start you go on the 2-week pathway, and then you're having sort of diagnostic tests and appointments, and it was quite ad hoc when the appointments might be, or the notice. Sometimes it was just a few days notice, and it was really difficult to plan work, so I was still working at that point. I had my first major operation in January 2022, and I had to sort of make a decision around work. Being self-employed, I would get no paid time off. I wasn't quite sure what benefits I would have been entitled to, and I sort of was quite sure they probably wouldn't cover my mortgage and my bills. And as the main breadwinner, I took the decision just to carry on working through, taking the day of surgery off, which was on a Thursday, having the Friday off of work, and then the weekend to recover and back to work on the Monday. I think normally people would sort of have 3 to 6 months off per operation, but for me and my family, that wasn't something that I could do. Thankfully, my work is mainly working from home, so I managed to plough on. I'm not saying it was easy at all, and how I wished I'd been in a permanent position at that point rather than self-employed. But I was then told I had to have another operation 2 months later, another extensive surgery as well, and was in the same position then, again, just taking sort of a couple of days off before returning back to work. I did find myself a couple of months later pretty exhausted by then, and sort of working more sort of part-time, but again, I couldn't take time off because I was sort of the breadwinner and had mortgage and bills to pay, and children as well to support. So I don't know if Jo could give any suggestions around how people are impacted by benefits for if they're self-employed, or if there is anything self-employed people are entitled to. Oh, you're on mute, Joe.
Yes, sorry. Yeah, as is always the case with benefits, it's different according to individual circumstances. But for most people who are self-employed, because there's no entitlement to statutory sick pay, then employment support allowance is the way forward. And if you've been self-employed and have paid your national insurance for the last, this is really rough, but roughly the last 2 out of 3 years, then you would be entitled to employment and support allowance. Because of your diagnosis, you would expect to have the right medical evidence in place, as is usually the case, and that shouldn't be too much of a problem. But you'll be getting around about 130, 140 pound a week. So back to what you said, Michelle, about paying mortgage bills, etc. It's going to make a little hole in it, but it's not going to replace your salary, your whatever it is you earn when you're self-employed. And of course, we know that the other issue that we come across a lot of the time with self-employed people is it's not just that they're not getting paid because they're not working. Painter and decorator, for example, so he's not working, he's not getting paid, but he's also not taking the bookings, so he's got no work coming up. So that, you know, the issue goes on and on and on. Something that we do try and look into for people, it very much depends on what they do, are some of the specific grants that are based around specific types of employment. So I know, Michelle, you might go on to talk about this in a minute in your case, but there are some all sorts of strange things. There's a cloth makers one. We had a lady that ran a what do you call it, curtains, haberdashery kind of business, and actually we got she got a grant through the British Cloth Makers Association or something like that. So we will always look to help, but it's fairly piecemeal. There's not a magic answer or great news on that.
And it is a real challenge, and I think particularly for PIP, I think it took me around 2 years in the end to get awarded that. So that was really tricky. So some of the things that I found helpful was being ex-military was linking in back to my sort of service community. So it doesn't matter how young or old you are, you can still dip into that community, and that's probably been one of the communities that have been the most supportive through this journey. So one of the organisations, Royal British Legion, as part of, I suppose I call it sort of rehab after surgery, it's like a year or so after surgery, they do a fully funded by them residential course where you do different types of sports, and there's people in wheelchairs, people with amputations, people with a whole range of challenges that are ex-military, and you go for a week and do the residential, food and accommodations paid for. But the best bit was it was a really good laugh, and you had sort of an instant connection to people as well, because everyone had different difficulties. The other thing is like linking into like the Royal British Legion as well, do provide some sort of grants, and SAFA the same as well. So if any of you are ex-military or have anyone that you know are, then they are sort of really great resources to link into. They also do, I mean, it's difficult to find like being happy or having fun, you know, in a cancer diagnosis, but even if it's just things to take your mind off doing things, they Royal British Legion all have connections to other things that you might be able to sort of take part in different challenges. There's also the Not Forgotten Foundation. So again, if you're ex-military, either injured during service or illness afterwards, which was my case, I went on some of their events as well, and I was really fortunate to go to Buckingham Palace for one of the events for a garden party. So again, it's something I'd highly recommend if you are or know anyone that is ex-forces to link into. Just to add, in my particular circumstances, Overcome as well, which is a national charity for ovarian cancer, They also do free events, crafting events. You can sign up for yourself or with a carer as well. So sometimes there's like cancer specific things that don't cost anything, but just give you a respite from thinking about your own cancer and circumstances.
Sorry, if I can get off mute. Okay, Michelle, thank you very much for that. And it is a bit of a minefield, as we've already seen, but there aren't questions in the chat, but I'm going to hand over now to Jane, who will moderate the questions. But the first one is coming from Bowen.
Yeah, Charles, can we just stop recording